Ministry of Environment, Health, nursery, even the media. We have to lead the media right from the beginning so that they can be working with us. All the relevant stakeholders, petroleum, the oil and gas, all you can think of that is working on the environment, will carry them along. And before we do this, we'll develop a policy brief that will be presented. So that as we are going for the advocacy, we'll now present this policy brief to them so that they can really know what we are out to support the movement. Another thing we are going to look at is the technology that will be used for this process. And on the technology, we look at the first thing is that we have to take care of the landfill, that waste management is very, very key and important. We also talk about the cattle and the other ruminants feeding improvement. Why do we want to do this? So that we can achieve a very good practices. They will also look at setting up the biogas to set up biogas in the communities. And what is the essence of it? The essence is that when we are able to set up it, because we know that the biogas is a renewable form of energy, so we can now convert it for other purposes like cooking, generation of electricity, and so on. We also look at the afforestation process again, that it's necessary to plant trees. Also advise people not to cut down the trees. This is to enable capture the CO2 that is being emitted into the environment too. Then we also look at trying to partners with other organizations that are working on this, because we believe that if they can provide with the equipment and other machines for us to capture this methane and also reduce the effect on the environment, which is really very dangerous to our health and the safety of the women. Just as Doc said, the women are highly affected. Then we look at another key thing that we are going to do, which should be the stakeholders engagement. First of all, just as we are sitting, we'll first engage them to know our plans, what we are about to do, and so on. And the stakeholders, I'm not going to repeat, it's just those relevant stakeholders that I earlier mentioned. So apart from their engagement, we also have to call another meeting this time around to be a training. Why do we need to train them? We just want to build their capacity. And this time around, we are not going to just look at the stakeholders will start from the communities. Because the main essence, even the CSO, the main essence of it is that at the end of the day, they should be able to carry out more step-down trainings so that the community people can also go to train, even the CSO, for just to make the whole thing, people to be more aware. So we'll just only train them. We'll train them and with the instruction that they should carry out more step-down trainings. Then at the end of the day, we'll not just finish that, we'll do monitoring and evaluation, which is very, very key. Because we have to monitor the process to see whether what we put in place is really done and whether the implementing is being implemented. Then we'll also document whatever that we do, because we believe that at the end of the day, even if you do a very wonderful work, without documentation, nobody will really know what is happening and what we did. And even after the documentation, we'll also carry out a report. We'll give out reports for people to know what we are doing. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone, once again. For my group, we came out with the following steps to be taken in implementing this project. And of course, we understand that there's going to be overlapping of what we will say here, what other people have said. And so, first of all, we talk about development of fact sheets. What the other group called baseline. We need to have the facts. What are the facts about methane emissions? What are the sources? What are the health consequences? What are the environmental consequences? We must have the facts at our fingertips first of all. Okay, after that, and again, I want us to understand that the items are not arranged in an order of implementation. So the second one can be the first in implementation. Okay. So sensitization of government agencies. We need to sensitize some government agencies, including Ministry of Environment. And the Ministry of Environment specifically, we need to talk with the Department of Climate Change, talk of waste management agency and all. Again, we need to sensitize Ministry of Agriculture. Of course, they are the prime suspects here. Agriculture is the prime suspect in methane emission. We also need to engage Ministry of Health. We know the numerous impact of the numerous health impact of methane emission. And again, for Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Education, we also need to engage them because we are thinking that at some point we need to bring our advocacy to schools. So we need to engage the Ministry of Education. Then chambers of commerce, you begin to wonder why chambers of commerce should also be sensitized, because we are trying to bring business into this issue of methane emission. Because just like as a coordinator was saying from the morning, since morning, that we don't only need to look at the impact of this emission, we need to see how we can use this emission to generate money. Of course, if you can compare this emission to money generation, it will be sustainable. It should be a sustainable process. So after that, the next thing is advocacy to communities. Of course, these communities, we need to meet with the community leadership and structure. That has to do with community leaders, the youth, and all that. And again, farmers and women groups. We know farming, as we have said, is one particular area that supports the methane emission. So we need to advocate to farmers and women groups in these communities. And again, environment clubs. Most of us, we believe because that as we have been walking around the Niger Delta, in most communities we have actually developed environment clubs. So for such communities that have environment clubs, we need to take the advocacy to them. And then for those ones that don't have, we need to create one. Then capacity building. This involves organizing workshops and seminars for government agencies and relevant stakeholders as stated above. Of course, all those agencies and ministries we talk about, we need to now have a workshop. We need to now have a sort of seminar for them where we can invite one or two members of each of these ministries, and then we can have like a roundtable discussion about the impact of methane emission, and then how we can possibly harness that into something more economical. Then we also talk about collaboration with research institutes or centers, and then higher institutions. We begin to wonder what impact this will have. Now, we believe that we need to now go into areas of research and have and encourage more research into methane emission. In high institutions, we can go to areas like environmental engineering, we can go to areas like agriculture, faculty of agriculture, where they do so much research on agriculture, and then we can intensify research in this specific area. The more research that is being carried out in these areas, the more sensitization, the more information that will be available about the impact of methane emission. Hence the need to have collaboration with research institutions and institutions of higher learning. Engagement with private sectors to design businesses around methane gas emission. This is also very important. We need to engage private sectors that can design businesses around this methane gas emission. What businesses can they have around this emission? We need to engage with those private sectors. And again, engagement with policies and policymakers, lawmakers to formulate policies that will regulate methane gas emission. Because of course we can do advocacy, we can do advocacy all around the place. But then if there are no policies and laws in place against the emission of methane gas, we will achieve little or nothing. So we need to engage our policymakers and lawmakers to formulate policies that actually regulate the emission of methane gas. And then we also don't need to neglect the place of media advocacy. Media advocacy is another thing we can do. We can produce jingles in these various states. We can have jingles probably once a month, twice a month, as the case may be. The more jingles we produce on this issue, the wider the community that will be aware of the impact of methane gas emission. So we need to engage media and houses, media advocacy, and then networking. We also need to network other partners. And then finally, just like he has instructed, we know that as NGOs that we are, we have areas of comparative advantage over one another. So at this point, we have also listed that we need to, for our group, we have 5 NGOs that we are there. we will need to hear briefly from them, probably 1 minute per group. They can tell us their areas of expertise, what they can do as an NGO. And since I'm with the mic, I think I'm supposed to be the second person, but I'll permit you, allow me to be the first. Said. So for Said, just like I said in the morning, we are one of the NGOs in the forefront of environmental issues. We actually have 3 thematic areas: environment and conservation, rural, community and health, and then we also have governance. So for environment, we have been in the business of designing projects that will mitigate against climate change. Specifically, we have not done something on methane, but we have been tackling environment and climate change from the area of sequestering carbon dioxide, and that took us to mangrove restoration, mangrove planting. Of course, because we have research that made us understand that mangrove forest has the capacity of sequestering so much of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and if we do that, that helps to mitigate against the impact of climate change. So, as an organization, SAID has worked in several communities in Niger Delta, and we already have buy-in in these various communities. So we can come in the area of advocacy to these communities. And like I also said from the beginning, we have environment clubs in most of the communities we have worked. So we are not going to have any challenge. There won't be need for us to really establish an environment club. All we need to do is to go to those clubs and work with them directly. For policymakers, we also interface with several policymakers, especially Rivers and Bayelsa. We have them already handy. So we can also function in the area of interfacing with policymakers. Yes. And then finally, for media advocacy, we have a media house in Bayelsa. We have in Rivers, where if you want to produce jingles, that won't be a challenge at all. So we can actually function again in the area of media advocacy.